Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Wildcard Wednesday. Really glad that you could join us today. My name is Sue Miller. I'm a Senior Program Manager here at Geotab and your host for today's expert session. As a company dedicated to innovation, Geotab continuously works to improve its products and services. And today we'll hear about the new Citizen Insights solution. Our subject matter experts today are Chris Jackson, Associate Vice President of Business Development, Public Works, and Marcelino Balados, Government Business Development Manager for Public Works. So Chris, please get us started.
All right, thank you, Sue. And welcome everybody for today's session. I'm really excited to present our new solution, Geotab Citizen Insights, to you. This has been a work in progress for probably the last 18 months, and we're really happy to get Geotab's first kind of public-facing website solution brought to the market. So with that, we'll just get into the agenda of what we're covering today. So we're just going to start off just explaining what Citizen Insights actually is, and we're going to go through some demo of kind of the add-in and what the product looks like, and explain and show really the simplicity of how it's built and set up to offer the solution. And then we'll go through the main features, benefits, and really explain how this tool is to be used, and how customers are going to be engaging with it. So what Citizen Insights is, so like there's some of you may have already come up against the requirement of having to create and host and maintain a public website for a government agency, and so it's becoming an ongoing increasing trend in the industry. There's been a lot of early adoption of the concept over the last 15 years, and there's been iterations of different apps, different types of websites, and a lot of them have been kind of custom built per agency that have more or less just satisfied the specific need per agency. And we've been working kind of on the 511 project and public facing project for a number of years, and so bringing this to market within the Geotab ecosystem is really what this is all about. So what it does serve is as a communication tool. So the primary driver for anybody requiring this is there's an ask of providing some sort of line of communication of what the operational fleet is doing from the government agency to the public. So, the common use cases are where's my snowplow, where's my garbage truck, sweeper, leaf collection, that sort of type of information from a service that the government is providing to the citizens and wanting to show regular updates on the progression of that service. So that's really the prime and initial reason why the demand for this type of solution is in the market, and what it delivers on is that communication piece. Then the actual site itself, very simple. The use cases are generally quite simple. It's showing a map of vehicle activity and operational activity. So route completion, like showing which segments have been serviced, in the last 0 to 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours, etc. So we're going to show a demo of what that looks like. And from a citizen side, what this helps with is, from a snow event perspective, or wanting to understand is residential waste management working through the agency, just being able to check one source of truth to understand what is the actual winter activity. Are certain roads cleared? Can I travel? This can be used for sidewalk services too. So a lot of public facing websites are starting to incorporate like the mainline roads, and as well as showing what the sidewalk activity is, so which sidewalks are cleared. So different levels of that help the citizens plan their day and understand what's clear, what's serviced, what can they use, and from other perspectives like the waste management, understanding, did I already miss the garbage? If I was late to put my garbage out, did I already miss the garbage truck? You can check these types of sites and see, okay, they're progressing through their routes, they haven't hit my street yet, so I can still have a chance to make it. So little things like that definitely make the impact on the citizen side. But where the solution is born out of, heavy correlation from the public works and winter operations and roadway status. So that's really the key business driver of this. For how the solution is offered, it's designed primarily for the state, provincial, and local government. That's their business needs. The federal requirements for federal agencies typically require the FedRAMP certification. This solution is not typically used by federal agencies, and so we're not in the federal FedRAMP environment with this solution at this time, but it is compatible and compliant with what state, provincial, and local governments need. So with that, we're just going to move right into a couple of explanations of what the add-in and solution looks like. So over to you, Mars.
Thank you so much, Chris. So just to start, just want to highlight that a key feature of the solution is the simplicity of what it takes to set up a public-facing site. And there are two components that I will be talking and showing on today's call. The first, which we're seeing up on the screen, is the add-in that is required to set up the data or the public-facing site. And you'll see that you have the option to set up the base map. You have the option to make some configurations to the actual public-facing site. And as Chris said, you have the option to show the service against the specific hosts, which use the GIS data and my Geotab to upload. So there is that information flow between my Geotab and the Citizen Insight platform, or you have the option to show the trip trails. And the last thing that you select is the service group that you want to be showing. And as Chris said, it can be used for a wide variety of public works initiatives, but of course there's a heavy reliance on winter operations. And this is the outcome that you get from the site. So, very simple to create, very simple to configure, and it's very simple to use if you are a constituent. And I'm just going to step out of the presentation right now just to walk you guys through a live demo of the actual solution. So when you log into the My Geotab portal, you'll see that you have the Citizen Insight admin tool in your pane here. And when you click it, you're given the Citizen Insight Activity Manager, and this is where you're doing all the configurations to what your public site would look like. And first, we're going to go through the base map setting. So this is where you're creating that base map that when the constituents load the website, this is what they're seeing. And again, you have the option to set whatever you want your default view you want, right? So if you want to be as detailed as possible, so you can zoom in or you can zoom out, and whatever you have in the pane here, this will be the default view of the map that will load initially when the constituents load their public-facing site. And next, you have the option to set a service boundary. And what's really neat about the service boundary is that any vehicle that is outside of that boundary, or that vehicle or that group of vehicles data isn't going to be translated to the public-facing site. So, if you're a municipality or if you're an agency and you lend some of your vehicles to a neighboring municipality, the second that those vehicles go outside of that boundary, you will that information will not be translated to the public-facing site. And here for our demo purposes, this is a demo database. We just have created a very simple zone, but of course you have the ability to use a shape file to upload the zone that mimics the actual boundaries of the municipality, the county, the state, the province, whatever it may be that you need the boundaries to be. And next, you would set the delay for the vehicle. So again, we did this on purpose. By default, it's 15 minutes to make sure that there is a delay between when the plow is present on a specific street or a specific house, and from when the constituents are able to see it, to avoid the plow chasers, because the last thing you want is someone who doesn't really understand the operations of public works who get in their vehicles and start chasing the plow. That could lead to a catastrophic event. And last but not least, in your map setup, you have the ability to include traffic cameras. So, if you want to include more than just your service level, you have the ability to include traffic information. And in the future, we will be expanding it to include more. So once you're done with your base map settings, click on back, and next you select whether you want to show the activity against the route, or if you're interested in just showing the trip trails. So it's a vehicle activity. So what Chris was talking about. So there's that decision, the operational versus the trip activity. And next, and the final settings in terms of what's required to dictate what's going to show up to the constituents in the public-facing site is setting up the active service group category. And if you click on edit, you have the option of adding as many service groups as you want. So if you're focusing on just snow, like you could have a group that looks at the roadways, and another service groups looking at sidewalks, for example. Or if you're looking at road operations in totality, you have the option of setting it for snow and sweeping, for example, or leaf collection. Whatever your initiative may be, you have the option of setting a service group per initiative that you have. And for now, I'll just use the snow as the example. And to add a service group, it's very simple. You just click on the drop-down menu, and it automatically takes from my Geotab whatever service groups that you have. So if you'd like to add a group, you just select the group. If you'd like to delete a group, you just click on the delete icon. And to further configure the specific service group, you click on the pencil icon, and you're given more features such as, what's the name that you wanna give to this group. You will be able to select the icon that will be displayed on the map, as well as you have the option of hiding specific vehicle activity and specific segments of a route. And that is done on purpose in case the municipality or the agency does not want the general public to know where their depots are located, for example, or if you don't want the streets around a depot to show, because as the vehicle is driving, going in and out of the depot, you don't want to give that false positive that, that specific section of the road has been blocked. So you have the ability to hide specific vehicles and their activity from the map, as well as the ability to hide some segments of a route so that it's not translated to the public facing. And last but not least, we give you the option to give your legend a name. So, if you want to be creative, you have the option to use a creative name rather than the boring default of a legend label. So now we've selected the map settings, we selected the service category, we configured the service groups, and the last thing you configure is the time interval. And this is where you have the option to configure based on your minimum maintenance standards what the time intervals should be, right? So in this case, we have it selected, to look at from now and 4 hours, between 4 and 8 hours, 8 hours and 12 hours, and anything that has been more than 8 hours. And this is a good time to pinpoint that this website is built with accessibility standards in mind, hence the color choices that we have. So once you select the colors, once you select the time buckets that you have, and you give it the specific label that you have. So for us right now, we said service within, and the time interval. You have the option to see what the constituents are going to see should they select the light theme or the dark theme, right? So you have the option of seeing how, or getting a preview of what the final site would look like. Now we click on back, and the last thing that we configure is the public-facing site settings. So this is where you put the name of the site. This is where you customize your URL. You have the option of creating whatever URL, and it takes the form of citizeninsights.geotab.com, hashtag, and whatever that name may be. So if I change this and say 456, for example, you'll see that this becomes my new URL. And that the second that I just click on set as new URL, that overtakes the previous URL that I have created. We also give you the option to make the site private, or if you want, so instead of so you can take down the website if you want to do any changes, any configuration changes that you want. You can make it a private site, or you can make it a public site. So like if it's made public, then anyone with the URL would have the ability to access the site. If it's made private, then the URL would not be an active URL until you make it a public site. And again, that's on purpose in case you want to take down the website momentarily to do any configuration changes that you want. You also have the option to put a logo or a crest. So again, we want to give it that homey feeling that it's built in-house. So you have the ability to brand it as your own municipality, own county, own province, own state, whatever you want the logo to be, you have the option to select. And Chris will get into more details, but there are two options. You can take the off-the-shelf Geotab site, which is we're showing here, or you can take the site that you customize here and configure and embed it into an existing website that you may have. And you do so by clicking Show Embedded link, and you take this information, and that's how you embed it into an existing website. We also have an About page and a Help page, and this is where you're able to communicate some information, whether it may be about your processes, about your minimum maintenance standards, about your operations, or any communication to the constituents that you want, such as if you see any issues or if you need help, this is where you go, this is who you call. You have the option to do so. And once that's done, so once you have a site URL, you've got the base map, you selected how you want to show the data, you select the service group, you click on Save and Publish up here, and you'll be prompted to saying, are you sure you want to make the changes? The second you click on Yes, Publish Now, the website becomes active, and I've loaded it previously just to show you what the site would look like. And this is what the constituents would see the second that they load the site using the URL link that you just customized. So over here, we're getting the legend that we created with the time intervals and the colors as associated. It's telling you what service group you're looking at. And on this side, it's giving them the option to show what service group they want to be looking at. And again, you have the option for, as a constituent or as a general public, to choose the color scheme that you want to see based on your visual requirements or preference. So I personally prefer the dark theme. I'll keep it there. And then you have the option. So right now we're looking at the snow clearing vehicles, but if I'm interested in the sweeping, I'll click on sweeping. And you'll see that the website is going to update, and all of a sudden the information regarding the snow group is cleared from the map, and the information for the routes based on the sweeping service group appears on the map. If I go back to snow, for example, and I'm interested in seeing if the street outside my house or the street outside my business, if it's been serviced or not, I have the option to search for specific addresses. I'll show you right now. So as soon as you start to type, it looks at your nearest location and it presents you addresses that are closer to where you are located. So click on the address, for example, this is the Geotab address. It's going to zoom in, and again, this is showing where the vehicles are parked right now, because the data we're showing here is simulated data internally, and that's why it's showing that the street they're on is where the vehicles are parked. But again, if you zoom out, you get to see the service or the level of service that was last recorded. And again, this is simulated data, and that's why it's showing that hasn't been serviced more than 12 hours ago. So there you have it. Very simple to set up, very simple to use. And simplicity is the name of the game. Again, and Chris will be going into details about the advantages of the solution that we're discussing today. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mars. That was great. And so, as you can see, a lot of the work that we've put into this solution was primarily focused around how we can make it as simple and easy for agencies to control and configure the public-facing website themselves. Because that's the key thing that really will help is not having to have custom websites, custom web designers, and having to go through kind of a lot of heavy lifting anytime a site needs to be published or updated. It can be completely administrated and updated and operated by a specific individual on the agency's side. So it's really a lot of the work that's been gone into this is the thoughtfulness around how to make it simple and easily accessible for the agencies to use. So we're really happy with how it's turned out. So we wanted to give you that demo first to give you the context of what we're really talking about here. So just touching on key features and benefits to start off with here. So we will be sharing this deck out as we do with every Wildcard Wednesday, so you'll have access to this. And there's a solution video that's connected to this slide that you'll be able to view and watch. But the key features for this, again, it's a public-facing site showing the vehicle and operational activity. So if you have any fleets and subfleets that you need to provide this type of information to the public, you can create service groups, you can use routes, or you can just use trip trails, and it'll show that operational activity. And you can specifically indicate, as Mars is going through, if you just want to show vehicles, that's great. You can just show vehicles. If you just want to show the map updates, so it's just the road segment changes, then that's all you need to show as well. Then you can select that option. If you want to show both, you can show both. And you can even select specific vehicles to show and others not to show. So it's very configurable on that because it's we understand the sensitivity on what there's some agencies that just don't want to show certain groups or certain vehicles. That's all there is. And then again, it's really the incorporation of using this with existing communication tools that agencies have. So today there's agencies are using social media a lot more, so Twitter accounts, et cetera, to communicate the status of operation. So it just helps align with the consistent messaging of in emergency events, which snow events are considered, day-to-day operations like waste pickup. It's just a consistent message of what the operation is currently doing. And again, like touching on the communication piece, communication is key, and that's really what drives this solution requirement from most agencies. Is that like it's an initiative that helps like communication offices, mayor's offices, state DOTs, provincial entities communicate with citizens on what it is. Definitely helps constituents with situational awareness. So knowing a specific area has not been touched yet in a winter event can definitely make you aware of changing your plans or not going into a specific area. And it's really just being able to help citizens with the safety and awareness of that. Being able to help with the service calls. So again, every agency has service desks, whether larger agencies have 311 centers, smaller agencies have just a handful of people answering phones for any issues that come in. This impacts everybody. So being able to have another tool at the disposal for those individuals that take those calls, as well as for the public to be able to check, can help. Again, just be consistent with the status, consistent with that communication, and helps the workflows of how agencies work with dealing with any public interaction like this. And again, like with it being a self-serve solution, there isn't a lag time. If something has to be updated, the agency has full control on which units, which vehicles need to be added, taken away, the data, the underlying map data, which needs to be updated or taken away. The configuration is in the hands of the agency. So if there has to be an emergency change to the website, it can be done in a matter of minutes, and it's done. And then they can publish it, and it's updated on demand. So those are really the key benefits of this solution. And going back to the business drivers, the two business drivers that really reflect from a public agency, it's the transparency. So more and more, like agencies are from political positions that are saying we must be more transparent with how their taxpayer money is being spent. This is in alignment with those types of campaigns and those types of initiatives that are being taken across every agency. So there's some form of this definitely happening right across the board. And so being able to provide the tool that aligns with that requirements is really what this serves. And then on the safety and efficiency, regardless of what the safety initiatives are with an agency, it just promotes being able to show the public the current status of any operation so that the public can just be a little more safe and be selective in their decision making and how they interact with the mobility of each agency. Then touching on the advantage of this, so like we really focused again on the business needs, and so with Geotab having exposure to so many government agencies, this has been built up over previous versions of this from our BSM acquisition, as well as just understanding with the exposure that we have to the government agencies and the public works industry what is needed. So like this has taken a lot of client perspective and then client input on what it is today. And you know, the key things to where the agencies are reacting so well to this is the fact that it does not require a project to code up and set up and maintain a website. It does not require IT resources on the agency side to create, own, and work with this. Geotab hosts the site. We update the site, so as new features come out, and all the security, it's all maintained by Geotab. And so IT, I mean, the first few kind of beta interviews that we've had with initial clients with this, IT resources were present in the meetings, and they came away saying this is great because they don't have to do anything. So it's really a key piece there, not requiring a lot of bandwidth on the agency side because they're already busy. There's, you know, everybody's busy. Everybody has, you know, staffing issues with respect to bringing in new solutions and the adoptions of new solutions. So that's why we were very mindful that by going to market with this, we want to make sure we're not putting another burden onto government agencies by having to maintain this to that level. All the fees, it's no setup fee, it's a monthly fee that's associated with the solution. And this includes the hosting, any patching, website maintenance, server fees, it's any enhancements, and as industry standards for best practices on websites continues to change, we're going to be incorporating that into the solution. It handles all the security updates, so it's a secure site. And you know, as we release any new versions, excuse me, any new features, any new tools or functionality with it, it's all going to be included in that monthly. So just touching on the solution components. So Mars touched on this a little bit in the demo. So there's two sides of it. So what Mars primarily demoed was the hosted Geotab site. So that's if you don't have an existing site as an agency and you're looking for a fully like off-the-shelf website, that's what you saw in that demo. So you go and configure it, and then you launch it, and that's what it is. So you can connect that link into existing agency homepage or whatever, just to refer to that as the site. Now, what we do see is because this market has been maturing a bit, there have been other public websites starting to surface with respect to agencies developing their own, having some form of existing landing page just to communicate what's going on from an operational level. So they may already have like the social media, other updates, what the service levels are. It's in various kind of fun facts about what they do when they service specific operations. So in that case, the iframe option, which is to just embed what you saw. So taking the ribbon off the top of the web page, the map and the legends and all the data that you see there, that becomes embedded into an existing site. So both of these options are available as part of that fee. You don't pick one or the other. So if you start off with a fully hosted site, but then want to develop your custom site, just referring to the map and the data as an iframe, then that's the option there too. So both are available to work with under the same solution. The way that it works, so the Citizen Insights admin tool that Mara showed as far as an add-in into my Geotab, so that's added by your Geotab partner reseller as a configuration file that just gets uploaded, and so that's added, and then the activation of the solution occurs once you go through the actual setup for the first time. And the pricing is tiered based on agency population. If there's 5 different bands of population, and the pricing can be referenced by your Geotab partner and reseller. Just one last slide here is we just wanted to throw a couple of notable upcoming releases for what's happening in November and December for this. So in November, this is something that is definitely asked for quite a bit, and this is custom vehicle naming for public view. So a lot of the agencies have been doing this type of solution and activity for quite some time. They tend to have engagement with like local schools or some sort of contest where the public gets to name the plows, or they just want to have fun with the names of the plows or names of vehicles, just to have a little bit more of a light interaction with the public. So for instance, like, we've seen certain groups want to name that each of the snow plows a different reindeer name around holiday time. There's been, again, school contests wanting to, the winning school gets to name the entire plow fleet, different fun names. So that is actually coming. So the internal vehicle name to Geotab, like 04-962, for the actual fleet number, that remains the same internally to my Geotab, but you'll be able to custom name it as whatever you'd like for the public view. So that's going to be a release in the next couple of weeks. Then by December, we're going to have the full French and Spanish language support on the public facing side. So those are just 2 notable releases that we're going to be having by the end of the year. I think that brings us to the end there. So wanted to leave some time for questions for sure. There are a couple of resources that we wanted to point to. It's just we do have a specific website where there's brochures, videos available, additional information, and we also list all this information on our marketplace page. So with that, I'll give it back to Sue and see what questions we have.
That was really great information, Chris and Mars. Thank you so much. I particularly like the live demonstration. We do have some questions for you. So does this work with older versions of my Geotab, or do I need the latest release?
All right, so this is, you can use this with any older versions of my Geotab. The one thing that gets is 2102. That database release, we introduced the route completion. So route completion feature sets is what fuels that route data. So if you're going to have an agency using it for the route data, then we do need at least 2102 or higher. If it's just the trip trails, then you won't need that. But trip trails is just location with a path. So that's really the only depending factor on the versioning is 2102 for routes.
Okay. Are there plans to include school buses or other city transportation in this?
So the solution could be used for that today, and the thing is to watch out for, and that is so the solution will show where vehicles are as they're progressing, and it'll show what they've accomplished, so the trip trail, the history. So that's what the solution does. So if that's what the use case requires, then yes, it can be used for that. However, knowing a lot of the educational and transit, it's not as much of where it's been as when it's going to be arriving. And so that's the predictive arrival piece. It doesn't satisfy that need today, but we are considering how we progress towards that for this snowplow, waste management, sweeping type of services, but also for these other categories. So it's definitely something that we have our eye on how we solve for that as a kind of a generic off-the-shelf solution with this. But I just wanted to make that distinguishment between, this is primarily what is accomplished historically and where they are right now versus predictive.
Very good. This might kind of tie into the next questions. I'm not an agency. However, my company provides snow removal services for several large businesses and universities, in their community for their parking lots and walkways. Is this something that I could use?
Yes, so I mean, it's like, again, you can set it up as if you wanted to show, so if you had your clients, if you wanted to set up a site for a particular client, then you wanted to show the status in that way, it could be, but keep in mind it's a public site. So if you do publish the URL, you are publishing a website that, and it's so if you're looking at just a more of an internal or private view that you would only be wanting to show that specific client, then we can maybe chat about that. But we can have further discussion around exactly that workflow of what you're looking to accomplish. But if you don't mind about the public website piece and wanting to show each of your clients the activity that you're accomplishing, then it would satisfy that.
Yeah, that could be useful for the employees and also the students and faculty. So I think that's a wrap. I want to thank you again, Chris and Mars. This was a great presentation. So until next time, I'm Sue Miller, and on behalf of myself and everyone here at Geotab, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you all next time. Same Geotab time, same Geotab channel.